welcome to the villains panel. It's gonna be a much bigger party than the heroes panel, not gonna lie.
Boring.
We're drinking and we're talking
I'm
about
sure you know who they all are at this point, but if you don't, we have Danny Kind, Kate Drummond, Michael Eklund, Megan Heffern, Natalie Krill, Reza Kondraki, and Tamara Duarte. All right, so
Let's
a
talk
lot of
villains.
people have been tweeting us about the villains panel. They're very excited, and they all want to know. Reagan at My Hot Cop on Twitter wants to know if you actually consider your characters to be villains.
No.
no.
Never.
No.
We're the heroes.
I think I did some bad shit.
No.
As
Yeah,
the
go.
widow.
Yeah.
I think I fucked some stuff up for people.
Yeah, but did you think
Did
when you were
know,
fucked?
or did you just have to do it?
I think it was intentional.
Did you think it was the right thing to do for you, for yourself?
Yes,
Well, don't the heroes think the same thing when they're doing their stuff?
that's true. That's true.
Mhm.
Now, who's the villains and who are the heroes now?
Way to have my back, sir. That felt really
Right.
nice.
Now we can sleep at night.
I think we're all on the wrong panel. I think
Right.
it's a little semantics, really.
I was
Yeah,
supposed to be on the hero panel. Just saying. I was invited to the hero panel.
You were?
I was. It's on my schedule.
But
You get to do both? You get to do both?
No, I didn't.
I tried
The
to
thing
steal
is,
it.
I was kicked out. last
Rosita we all thought Rosita was technically a hero in the beginning, and then she duped us all. So
Duped.
she went that way. Could your heroes be redeemed can your villains be redeemed to be a hero in that case?
I'm dead.
Oh,
Yeah, also.
Natalie's
We're all
dead.
dead.
I'm dead.
Dad.
Raise your hand if you're dead.
I don't think I'm dead because I burst into like millions of spiders. So I think I'm just living fragmented in the world.
Yeah,
You're being
I-
stepped
I
on
am
by
not
many people.
I'm having a lot of sex. I don't know. I'm definitely not dead, but who knows?
Yeah, I think I'm like living the life with the squid creature. Like I'm married to a squid now, living this.
maybe I feel like
So
Kate
even in the
everyone back
afterlife,
together.
even in the afterlife, Natalie, we don't hook up. Even after you still reject me.
I
Even
chose
after
the
I get-
squid over you. I was like, it's
Man.
all squid.
Bobo got
He's
played.
still not
Bobo
over it.
got played. I got played by you.
You don't have what the squid has. I'm sorry.
This conversation is getting very dirty very fast.
All right,
I'm just gonna sit over here.
I don't
let's
think
switch
Bobo
along.
has any problem picking up people, whatever he has sex with. I think Bobo's doing just fine.
Whatever.
Whatever.
I don't know.
You're not picky.
We're not picking.
I kidnap girls and put them in tree houses for 20
Oh,
years.
it's so creepy. So creepy.
It's not.
So
I
dark.
did it. I did it to protect you all.
Thank you so much.
I felt very protected.
So
You
a
should.
lot of people also asked if there's anything you specifically do to get into the mindset of a quote unquote villain.
Costume. All costume all the time.
It really was costume, wasn't it?
I feel like
Right.
Meg, as soon as you and I got into that gear with all those amazing women that were dressing us, it was like you just hold your body different. It changes everything.
I found that April Mullen gave us a lot of good character stuff when she did our episode.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
had
she
a
was awesome.
playlist. I had a playlist for
Can I ask, how do you
Mm.
put a playlist together? Are you just like, this is the vibe, or this makes me feel like this? Because a lot of actors do this.
Yeah, I go with like how the music makes me feel. So like for Willa, I had like Smashing Pumpkins and Garbage. You guys remember
Yes.
Garbage?
Yes.
I had like a lot
Garbage?
of like grunge, like 90s grunge music on there. So it
Angst.
just made me feel like really angsty. Yeah, exactly. Like kind of like
Like
fuck
9 Inch
love.
Nails.
Yeah.
Music that makes you want to do bad things.
Yeah.
Vibration, right? It's the vibration in the music too.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you are vibration, so it's like you're kind of like setting yourself up to be in the same place. That's really
Totally.
cool. That's
Yeah.
really love that.
I used to have an iPod back in the day,
The
and it
loop.
was all an iPod, and it was all broken. All the music was broken up into feelings. So it was like angry, happy, sad, sexy, whatever. And so if I heard a song, I was like, where does that go? Oh, it goes into that category. Okay. And then if I needed it, I could just scroll through what I was needing to feel in that scene. Now I just bullshit and fake it.
That is not true. You are such a prepared actor.
So not true.
Yeah.
So not
What are
true.
my lines again? No.
Exactly.
Right. So what were you gonna say? You were gonna say something.
Oh, I was gonna say I listened to classical music, like, and a lot of violin for
Mm.
like, I
Oh,
made a
cool.
Mm.
Mm.
For me, for Lakato, it was just more like it was more just about figuring out what it is I'm fighting for and like relating that to something that I'm super passionate about in my life that I would like kill for. And then it becomes less about like how do I get in the mood of a villain, and it's more how I get into the heart of my character and what she's fighting for. And then how it like the words that I'm given and things like that make in the situations I'm put in can classify me as villain or not. But like for me as an actor, that's I always go to that like what is it in relation to me? Like what am I fighting for? Because I don't think Lakato doesn't think she's a villain. She thinks she's just
No.
avenging her husband's death, and she's trying to do the right thing. And and I think that's the case for a lot of villains. Like we don't go wake up and be like, oh, I'm a great villain.
I like being bad. No.
Like, I think that's the whole thing. If we wake up and we go, if you're thinking, if you're I don't know, I read this in a book. If you're judging your character, and then you're already off. You're already doing it wrong. There's no right or wrong, but
Yeah, because you're
You know,
dividing
I-
yourself from that character. You're like, oh no, that's not a part of me, and then you're dead in the water.
exactly. Like seriously, villains, they don't wake up every day going, I'm gonna go off and do some bad things today. They have motivations and obstacles and fears just like heroes do. It's just our stuff that we're into is just a little bit, darker than most.
Also, hurt
Right.
people hurt other people. And so I always think it's really interesting to think about like what happened before. Like
Mm.
what
Totally.
this person that made them, change their moral compass.
Yeah. I think to build on that is, I think if you are given a certain amount of, if you're given certain circumstances, you're capable of anything. That's why when people say, oh, I could never do that, or I would never do that. And I'm like, well, if this, and this happened to you,
Mhm.
or if you were in this situation, you would do it.
Mhm.
So
So
Like,
then,
each one of our villains in this show, it's not like nothing happened to us that made us do the things we did, right? I can't speak for you guys. Like my stuff was all, when it was Robert Spain stuff and he got screwed over in the 1800s by, the storyline with Wyatt Earp, and then he's now Bobo, and then he's, stuck in this triangle and he's trying to get out, and he's, protecting the girls, but there's no respect there. He's just getting taken for granted. There's going to be some emotions in there. And we're all doing something because it was a cause and effect of something.
Mhm.
and Emily is really great at like building the heart of the villain, which makes the villain likable.
Mhm.
April, and like you said, who was saying that? Meg, you were talking about April. That's what I love that about her too, because she's very much like a character driven director. Like I found like even with Lakato, like she's like, okay, so where can we find the tenderness? Like where can we find the heart? Like this is a perfect opportunity to find her heart and to see her heart. And I loved that because you can kind of get stuck in like I'm just going to be an a-hole all the time. And piss people off. But to actually have that, I love that April was like that for us, like really a green light for finding the humanity.
It comes from her being an actor.
Yeah.
with the villains, it's definitely the journey that gets them there. It's definitely not, they're born and then all of a sudden, like Michael said, they're going to go out and do some bad things. So if they didn't have that particular journey, what career does everyone think their characters would have?
Career.
Well, I think with Rosita, she was always in different things because she lived so long. So she had like a million things that she was doing and that she was into. So I think, I don't know, there was always 10 years of being really good at something and then moving on to the next thing. So she's kind of a chameleon in that sense.
Know what the widow's job would be. I think Mercedes would host like a drag queen karaoke night or brunch or something like that.
Yes.
Hey Penny, sorry guys, let me just mute myself.
There would be a madam next.
Who?
Oh.
Be madam?
Madam.
Tamara? You be madam? I can see that.
Not me in real life.
No, we're talking about in the show.
Of course, we're talking about our characters.
Yes.
I feel like Widow Beth would maybe be a private investigator, and then human Beth would just be a trust fund baby,
Of course.
potentially. Or like an
Well, what-
influencer.
Do we even have careers as our characters anyway? Like, this is a question, is like, if we weren't bad and we didn't have the circumstances that made us bad, what would our careers be? I'm like, I don't even know what Bobo's career is in the moment.
Well, mine's a scientist. I know that.
Well, you have an actual job. You
Yeah.
have an income.
My
I live in a trailer with a bunch of demons.
Mercedes had a career, but I don't know what the widows.
Yeah. These did.
I had a career. I bought the bar. That was I wanted to be a bar owner,
You were an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
right? See, you get it, Willa. That was our dream.
And
That
you
was
know
our
what,
dream,
Bobo, you could do
My dream was
speaking engagements like Tony Robbins.
right?
That would be great.
Yes.
Motivate people. Don't take shit from anyone, or
Yeah.
this is what happens to you.
Yes. I feel like Lakato before, like if she wasn't married and she wasn't in the forces and then she wasn't, doing like leading Black Badge and stuff like that. I think she would have had like a really awesome greenhouse operation. Like she would have been a gardener.
She'd be growing weed.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Growing
too.
whatever, but she'd be growing something, something. But it just feels right. Something green.
See how we defend our characters so well to be good people.
We're so noble.
I'm going to be a motivational speaker. You're going to grow flowers. You're going to be a madam.
Yeah, but all right.
I think
I'm gonna run a grow up.
would like be an auctioneer of fine, like at Christie's, like fine jewels and art. And she just like wave her wrist around and shut people up who didn't want to spend enough money on the finer things.
I can see that.
That sounds like a lovely life.
and have one of those like long cigarette holders.
Yeah, kind of like Cruella, but who likes art.
Who sells expensive high heel shoes?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I have to say, I love the ASL, the symbol for that long cigarette thing. This long cigarette. The long cigarette.
The long
It was very good.
I thought it was interesting. In season 1, they let me smoke as Bobo because he was the bad guy. And so I could smoke cigarettes. And then after season 1, you never saw him ever smoke again. So I kicked my habit at least. So.
Nicotine.
See, motivational speaker.
If
This is
Bobo
how you can do it.
you can do it too.
I wear the patch.
I was just gonna say like Bobo patches.
Bobo's
suddenly
patch.
trend
Bobo's
on
patch.
Twitter.
I think he just ran out because I can't leave the triangle, so I couldn't get more. But
As Tamara mentioned earlier, that it's fun to play the bad guy. What scenes did you guys personally love acting out? Because you guys had some really awesome fun action scenes as well as just, villain scenes.
The bad guys get the best. I mean, I
Yeah.
think we get the best scenes to play because they're so wild and so out there. I have so many. You guys can jump in because I could.
I have so many.
I got to work with most of you. I didn't get to work with you tomorrow, but I get to work with everybody else.
For like a
But I have
hot minute, not long enough.
We had lots of scenes.
Not enough, in my humble opinion. I would have
We got-
taken more in a heartbeat.
I think we had like 2 or 3 episodes. Well, I would love to have lots with you. You were so fun. You and Megan were so fun. The scene with you two, I remember, would be, there's that cool scene we did. I'm on the ground and you guys have me tied up. That scene stands out for me. So I got to work with both of you at the same time. And it was fun making that scene interesting because you had ideas and Megan had ideas and I had ideas and then we all pulled them together and we made a really cool scene.
I like
think
the
that was-
scene where there was all the fighting in the yard and I choked Michael out.
That was a great scene. That was a cool scene.
Like that.
You're so strong.
So strong. You were not
Yeah.
standing on an apple box.
I was not, which was my idea. I was like, I'm just gonna step onto a box.
Yeah, remember that. I
Yeah,
liked
that
the
was fun.
scene where I was dressed up like Hannibal Lecter and Tim had to wheel me in with the muzzle and
Mhm.
Mel had to shoot this thing into my mouth. I didn't do anything in the scene but stay on a gurney thingy, whatever. But Mel could not get the needle working, and watching her frustrated was hilarious. She wanted to be so hard in that scene, and it just wasn't like the things weren't coming together. So it was just a bunch of fuck ups that were so entertaining to watch and be a part of.
It's always fun to watch shit go down on set.
Yeah, especially if you come in with ideas of how the scene's going to go and then it doesn't go that way.
Mhm.
And then the way it ended up was great. It was a great scene. She did a great job.
It always works out in the end.
Yeah.
What about you, Raisa? What's a favorite scene of yours?
That's a tough one. I mean, I really loved having you lick my high heel. But I think, like, speaking of just like watching, I think being buried was so cool because I had no sense of what it was going to look like. But I also didn't really think about the fact that I wasn't going to have like access to my body and my hands, which is something that, we use so much without thinking about it. And it was so cool to like not be able to move. And the crew, I don't know if they get talked about a lot at these cons, but like aside from how fantastic this cast is, every single member of the crew is like so kind and fun and funny. And it was so great because I couldn't go anywhere. And so people would come and like scratch my nose or like give me a bottle of water with a straw in it. And it just felt like I was at camp and like people were like coming to your cabin to say hello.
How long did you have to stay in there?
It was a while. I remember everyone going like, have you gone to the bathroom enough? Have you had enough snacks? You're going to be okay. And I didn't really think about it. And then once I got into that, I think it was a canoe or a kayak. I can't remember what I sat in. And then I was like, I just felt like I held court and people would come and say hi. But it was so cool to like really be able to watch all the pieces and how many awesome people were taking part in making this look so good.
How did
Yeah,
they do it? That you like? How did they actually shoot it with you?
It was so cool. They built like a stage, and then there was a hole in the ground, and I think there was a kayak or canoe or something that I sat in, and then slowly they closed the hole, so it was just my chin, and then my hair sticking out. And I guess I hadn't like properly thought about the fact that was gonna be it. I'd always wanted to be one of those kids on the beach who like gets covered, So that
Buried in the sand.
it was very cool. It was very cool.
Honestly, I'm like having serious anxiety right now. That would freak me out
Yeah.
so hard. Like I don't know if I could do that.
I could have used some CBD tea that day. Yeah. But then it just became so fun. Like once you get used to it, and it was just like, I'll never do this again, probably. What are the chances?
Who mentioned taking? No, I did it.
We're talking about CBD gummies, guys, just because I
Right.
was part of that conversation. So
And I'll quick little story. I don't want to take up too much time. I did a movie somewhere, and it was very similar where I was strapped to a hospital bed, and I didn't know that I was going to be strapped down. And they said, once you're in the bed, you can't get out because we don't have time to hook you back up. And I was like, okay. And I'm supposed to be groggy and out of it, and like on medications, and I'm not going to mention the movie, but the director was like, you should smoke a joint before you do this scene. I never smoked a joint in my life. And I was like, if that's what you want, Mr. Director, I'm like, okay.
What?
Yeah. And so I did. And I smoked it like a cigarette really fast. I didn't know. And so then they strapped me to the bed. Not a good idea. Not a
Oh
good
my
idea.
God. Did you freak
I-
out?
I freaked out. I turned green. I passed out in the scene. I woke up halfway into another actor talking to me in the scene, trying to figure out, do I have any lines? Where am I? Where am I right now? And it was like the worst experience ever, but it looked great.
he got what he wanted.
I think so.
Oh.
But I would never be strapped in, and no, it's claustrophobic enough for me.
All I want to do is go Google this now. This is crazy.
I'm
You're
like
not going to find it on the
sweating.
internet.
I'm
You're not
so
going to be. It's not going to be on the internet. I've never told that story before. You're not going to find it.
You're
This
in
is
a
just for
movie.
you guys who are listening to this at home.
I just want to say out loud, all of us live in Canada. Marijuana is legal here. Putting it out there.
Exactly.
But I think as
It
an
is- it
actor,
is a thing.
it's easier to get into a scene when the physicality of things are like, if someone's choking you, even if they're pretend choking you, it's a very, like, your neck, it's just like a very visceral feeling. So it's like, you don't even need to act if you're being strapped down, or if you're being choked, or if you're doing a fight scene. There's a lot of things that just kind of happen naturally because of that reason.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
I agree.
we only have a few more minutes left. I do want to ask
No.
if Natalie and Kate, if you two have a special scene that you liked the most. Not to put you on the spot.
Not
but-
at all. Not at all. I was just wondering. Yeah, my favorite physical scene is obviously the scene with dolls, the big fight scene. Because the competitive sort of athlete in me was like, hell no, I am doing this on my own. And can I please do these stunts on my own? And had amazing people to work with. And I learned a lot about myself as an actor, and how, like, you know, when you're doing a fight scene, you shouldn't be actually doing the fight scene. Like, you shouldn't actually be hurting people. And poor Shamir was like, ow, like my arms, and I could barely like lift my toothbrush for the next 2 days. I was so sore. I was like, but I was shaking after that scene, and it was so much fun. Because if you're choreographed and it's safe, you're kind of in these parameters. Like, you've got some rules that you have to play within. But if you're working with an actor like Shamir, who is like, yeah, let's just go for it. Like, let's just do this. Then you feel really like you're all padded, like we had pads on and everything. So for me, that will be etched in my brain and my body for the rest of my life. I'm sure. It was just such a high. And yeah, that was definitely my fave.
For me, it's, oh God, it's really, really hard to pick, because I feel, you know, I had such a, like, I was in 4 episodes, but it was such like the arc was like, so every scene I felt like so much was happening for my character. But I definitely loved all the action stuff, and getting to do, like, getting flipped over Steve's head, the fight guy, the fight coordinator.
Steve McMichael.
Yeah, Stephen Michael got flipped over his head in one scene. And like the squid stuff was fun because I got to do a green screen where I was like in this harness and did all fun. So all that action stuff was loads of fun. I'd never done anything like that. So
Awesome. Well, I want to thank our lovely villains for joining us for the villain panel and our ASL interpreter who has been amazing. Hopefully everyone has a wonderful rest of their day at GRTCon.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everyone.
Thanks, everybody.